So first item always is to call the meeting to order and remind people of, well, the mics are on pretty loud, so we'll crank the speaker on the other side of that wall, and we'll ask people to be quieter, okay? Thank you. Yeah, we just don't always know where people are sitting, so we can direct my voice to exactly where you are. Thank you for that. Call to order and declaration, if any, of a conflict of interest. Just a reminder to all councillors if there's any items that we're going to be dealing with tonight, and there is a conflict of interest or an apprehension of bias, that you let the councillors and community know. First item is adoption of the agenda, and I know we have some additions and deletions, but first, just to get it on the order paper, is there someone to move the adoption of the agenda? Councillor Seegers, Councillor Inkster, and there are a couple of, at least one deletion from staff suggestion.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, staff are suggesting that 8.1, the SSC bylaw, not proceed at this point, and not exactly deletions or additions, but a couple of notations. When we get to 8.2, there'll be a requirement there to schedule a public hearing as well as deal with the reading of the bylaw. And item 10.5 has a bylaw as well for it, and unfortunately our agenda template is such that the bylaws are before the report, so I'll ask council to consider the bylaw for BIA at the time the bylaws are done and then discuss it more fully later.
Well, I was going to suggest that we move a number of those reports up to when the bylaws are being discussed.
That would certainly work as well.
Yeah, to make sure that we actually do them together. So the bylaw on 10.12 may need to be moved. So as we go through this, let's make sure that we do the reports and any bylaws at the same time. And if staff can help us on that as well, to make sure we do them at the right order. And deletion of item 8.1, which is the SSC Properties Limited, page 23 to 141. And page 142 to 166, so 147 pages. That takes an hour of our evening out. And that's because we were waiting reports that will be useful. Any other additions or deletions? With that amendment then, all those in favor? And that's carried. We can move forward. There are no appointments or delegations this evening and no proclamations. So we move directly to the adoption of the minutes. First, pro forma, the adoption of the minutes of the 4 p.m. regular council meeting of March 2nd, which is page 4 and 5, moved by Councillor Seegers and Councillor Wright. All those in favor? That's carried. Adoption of minutes of the 7 p.m. regular council meeting of March 2nd, 2016, pages 6 to 16. Move adoption by Councillor Shanks and Councillor Lutz. Any errors or omissions in those minutes? And this is one we noted this afternoon where the members present are the deputy mayor and absent is the mayor, and we'll make sure that the call to order and references to the mayor in the text refer to the deputy mayor because the mayor wasn't there. Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. On page 14, under 6 for Councillor Lutz's report, I believe it should be AJB logging.
What page?
Page 15. I'm in the old report, yes. Good. Under number 6.
Yes, and there's a tiny typo in item 4. We generally think ferries birth with B-E-R-T-H, and they don't birth as in B-I-R-T-H. Though we need more ferries. Maybe that's how you get new ferries. Maybe, maybe we're missing something here. Councillor Wright is saying he doesn't want to see them mate. Any other errors or deletions? Any errors in the minutes? So with those minor corrections, all those in favor of adoption, that's carried. And there's one more set of minutes from the regular council meeting of March 9th, which is page 17 and 18. Motion to adopt, Councillor Seegers and Lutz, all those in favor, and that's carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Councillor Seegers. Sorry, I'm not used to this.
Thank you. Page 12, it talks about the shares purchased in Sechelt Innovations, I believe, for $300,000. I'm wondering how much money is still remaining in the corporation at this time, if we have any idea.
Thank you. And staff would like to respond to that one? Linda Clausen,
Yeah, I'm
Manager of
just
Financial
looking it up.
Services. Yeah, is it 164 or 174?
Pardon?
164 or 174?
I thought it was 164. Yeah.
Well, look it up so we're right.
Yeah, okay, I'll look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
$164?
Okay, that's $164,000, and that's still, is it actually held by SIL?
Yes,
Okay.
it's in their savings and checking together.
Any other business arising from the minutes? Moving along then to commission minutes and reports. We have the summary of the recommendations of the Finance, Culture, and Economic Development Committee, which is item 7.1, pages 19 through. Motion to receive, Councillor Lutz and Shanks. All those in favor? Any corrections, errors, or omissions in that? Moving forward then, Councillor Seegers.
Do we need a motion to endorse as on the order paper for these?
We will, yes. We're just looking now for somebody to move the recommendations. Okay, Councillor Seegers moving recommendations 1 through 7, 8 and 7. Where's the 9? Oh, 9 at the bottom, yeah, okay. So 1 through 9. Any discussion of those? It was amended through 8 and it ends up there. All those in favor? That's carried. If I can ask a question about recommendation number 5, public art acquisition. It wasn't clear to me what we were even talking about. That the committee directs staff to work in conjunction with the artist to propose alternative sites for the placement of the art piece. Somebody who was there or chairing could at least tell me what art piece and what the movement. Okay. And is it meant to be moved off-site?
We could come up with some,
Alternative sites. Okay.
it could be on the square or elsewhere.
Okay. We'll look into that when I'm really back. And I was a bit confused about the proposals on the proposed operating financial plan, but as I think I understand it now, we want to capture all of the growth and market growth in the BC assessment estimates and increase the mill rate by 2.7 as well.
We want to capture all the market and growth.
Yeah.
It's a 7% increase in our revenues. As a result of that, it's a 2.7 increase in your mill rate.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense as long as it wasn't clear from what I was reading that that actually happened. And moving along then, have deleted item 8.1, which brings us to item 8.2, which is the District of Sechelt Official Community Plan Bylaw number 45492, which is the Clayton family lands. And this is for first reading and then referral to public hearing? Am I correct? Okay. Somebody to move first reading? Councillor Seegers and Councillor Shanks. All those in favor? And a motion to refer to public hearing? Councillor Wright and Councillor Inkster. All those in favor? And is there any sense of the date for public hearing at this point?
I believe you're looking at April the 12th.
Okay. 12th day of April. Now that's item A. Is there 8.2B, District of Sechelt zoning bylaw?
Next page over. Should be the next one.
Okay. We get a 400-page agenda and then delete 200 pages of it, and my paper's all over. So we have a bylaw number 25-270, 216, CD-37, Clayton Family Lands, and this again is for first reading. Moved by Councillor Shanks, seconded by Councillor Wright. All those in favor of first reading? That's carried and referred to public hearing. Councillor Seegers and Councillor Inkster. Any discussion? All in favor of, and that's carried as well. And again, same date for the public hearing? Okay. And we move then to item 8.3, which is the District of Sechelt Financial Plan Bylaw number 552, 2016. And thanks, moved for receipt. It's the first, Councillor Shanks and Councillor Seegers. All those in favor? And I'll ask for a short and brief report from, no report necessary. Everyone's happy with the discussions of it. I'm going to suggest that we only give it first reading tonight. I don't think it'll delay our schedule if we give it first reading, and then I want a chance to digest it and bring it back for second reading in 2 weeks. So I'd ask for a motion for first reading. Councillor Seegers and Councillor Inkster. It's on the table for first reading. Discussion at first reading. And it won't come back for a couple of weeks, so if you want to... Okay. Open for discussion. If no discussion at first reading, all those in favor? That's carried. We will have discussion at second reading and potential amendments. And thank you for that tolerance. I really didn't read the financial plans while I was away, and I want to go over this one carefully. Moving on to item 9, new business. We have item 10.1, which is regarding the Spanny development at Rockwood Ocean Stories. Move receipt from Councillor Lutz and Councillor Seegers. All those in favor? And is there a report on this? Or do we want to just go directly? go directly to it. So recommendation number 2 is that we confirm the OCP amendment bylaw number 49214, 2015, Rockwood Ocean Stories has been considered in conjunction with the District of Sechelt 2015-2019 financial plan, the SCRD solid waste management plan, the District of Sechelt 2000 liquid waste management plan, and the registration of the district's wastewater treatment plant under the municipal wastewater regulation. Moved by Councillor Seegers, seconded by Councillor Shanks, and discussion.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question through to the corporate officer. I went and I had a look at the particular provision quoted here, 477 Local Government Act, and I read it. It is open to some interpretation, and I'm just curious if you can elaborate a little bit on that particular item.
Okay.
In terms of, more specifically, how this one relates to all the other OCP amendments that we're currently looking at.
Mr. Vanderwolf.
Your Worship, that certainly isn't one of my areas of strength. I'm looking to the Director of Planning, and I think probably that's a better place to have it answered.
Okay. Mr. Vance.
Could you perhaps just restate your question? This section of the Local Government Act requires that that Council consider those provisions that are outlined in the resolution prior to a public hearing.
Ms. Councillor Mueller.
Thanks. Just to be a little more clear, we've got a number of OCP amendments on this particular item, so I'm just curious if we're going to require us to pass a resolution citing the similar things for each OCP as it comes forward. Yes. And you're saying it's before it goes to public hearing?
It's either at first reading or prior to the public hearing, and it's a requirement of all OCP amendments.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Seegers.
So does that bring into question the one we just passed?
Some do and some don't, and I haven't been back long enough to actually.
Yes, it will be required. The public hearing will be on the 12th, and a report on the on the OCP amendment will be on Council's regular meeting on the 6th.
And thank you for that follow-up. It probably helps clarify for Councillor Mueller what he was actually asking. So, as I understand it, in the distant past, it was common for there actually to be a resolution in every first reading or in the recommendations that indicated Council had considered it in conjunction with various plans and various waste management plans, financial plans, and with some discussion, as there is in this paper, that for whatever reason slipped a little bit by the wayside. And in terms of good governance, this is an example of where some community input makes a real difference in getting us on track and on doing the kind of governance that we need to have. So thank you to the community input, and I think it was Lynn Forrest. I'm not positive, but it's useful. She says no. Oh, Shirley. Okay, then Shirley Kusiak. Well, thank you for that. And I want to say before, well, let's look at the recommendation though. And councillors have read the report, and they can see the waste management plan discussion on the bottom of page 191 and the financial plan and other conclusions. Any discussion? Councillor Mueller.
Thank you, Your Worship. On this particular one, I'm going to have to vote against item number 2. These particular documents that we're discussing, they're over 600 pages, and to completely have them all there to digest them all, I'm going to tell you right, I have not done that, so I'm not comfortable voting for this. I would actually like to introduce a motion to table that to our next council meeting.
Before you go there, I think the discussion would be on what the word consider means, and if staff have considered the issue and given us a report that allows us to confirm that we've looked at the major issues, it's good of councillors to try and read the various reports, and I can tell you that last night I read the Waste Management Plan 2000 and the West Sechelt and West Porpoise Bay functional sewer plans, but it's not incumbent on each councillor to read every part of the reports, as long as you feel you can consider it with the staff support that's provided. So do you still want to go forward with a motion to table? Okay. Motion to table, is it seconded? Not tonight. So we'll proceed then with going back to recommendation 2, which is that council confirms the OCP amendment bylaw has been considered in conjunction with the various plans as required under the Municipal Act, under the Local Government Act. A motion to move that or Councillor Lutz, Councillor Seegers. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. And sorry, I didn't. Oh, and one opposed. Yeah, all those opposed. Oops. Yeah. No.
Really upset him.
Yeah, no. That's, and one opposed, and we'll have that noted. We'll take a short break to get the water back in the glass and the towels on it. While we're taking that break, I actually wanted to say one of the benefits of coming back to this was the fact that the planning department posted the hyperlinks for all the documents and plans we should have read and might have read. And I reread the, as I mentioned, the 2 on the liquid waste. And I would encourage all of councillors, if they haven't read the Stage 2 liquid waste management plan from 2000, to read it. It's outdated, but there's lots of information in it that is really germane to the decisions we're making on this week and this month and this year. And there's lots of really interesting information about how we ended up where we are and what the growth patterns are expected to be, how those growth patterns are expected to play out, and what that means for financing and for sewer connections. So I would urge all of councillors to take the direction that Councillor Mueller is trying to take, of to read everything that's in front of him. But these ones in particular, they're quite germane to our discussions on a number of properties. That was item 10.1. Moving then to item 10.2, which is a request for decision, again on the same properties, the Spanny properties. And first, a motion to receive. Councillor Seegers, Councillors Shanks, all those in favor? And this is second, that we recommend a second public hearing be scheduled for the District of Sechelt Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 492-15-2015, Rockwood Ocean Stories, and District of Sechelt Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 25268-2015, Rockwood Ocean Stories. Moved by Councillor Seegers and Shanks. Discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed to that, and we'll note that opposition as well. It's too bad for the sake of the environment that we have to reprint 117 pages just to bring it forward again. But with that aside, item 10.3, terms of reference for the Municipal Hall Library Building Committee. And we have again a report. Item 10.3, motion to receive. Councillor Seegers, Councillor Lutz. All those in favor? That's received and carried. And secondly, that the terms of reference for the Municipal Hall Library Building Committee term be approved. Recommendation number 2. Councillor Seegers moves. Councillor Lutz. Discussion? The one thing I would note, I understand we're putting this together for primarily to look at library building issues. I'm wondering if the mandate is to provide advice to council on municipal hall improvements. As long as we understand that if we do look at municipal hall expansion, that would probably be a different committee and different terms of reference. And I notice the corporate officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I attended the meeting with the group that is seized with steering the renovations to the library that affect Municipal Hall, and they asked me to do up terms of reference. I based them on terms of reference that are fairly generic. There are some changes that I made in terms of the status of staff and so forth at meetings, and I wanted to, based on some interaction I've had with other boards and committees, I wanted to reinforce that the rules that govern council have to rule its boards and committees, including this one as well. So I made some tweaking, but it's very much the template that we're using for terms of reference.
Thank you very much. And I note that, yes, a quorum shall be required and staff shall not be counted as part of that. And I see Councillor Shanks.
So, Your Worship, do we have conflict on page under 315, activities to be undertaken by the committee? Item number 2.
I don't know, as long as we understand that it's not, if the committee itself doesn't expand their mandate and get too big for themselves, it'll be okay, because it is the municipal hall building that's being looked at, and it's the library functions, but it's not improvements to the municipal hall we're expecting this group to do. So, Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. The conversation at the table was that there is some work that needs to be done upstairs, or we've got new staff coming in, they're looking at moving them around, they want to see if they have sufficient space. The reason it's coming to the committee is that the library was very appreciative of the fact that when the front of the hall upstairs was renovated, they were aware of what was happening and could work with the community in the use of the library and managing the inconvenience to each party. So it's more of an information piece back and forth between the two. Also looking at, it may be that the committee at some point may come back and say, there is a need, and so then we need to rejig this and look at moving it forward. But that's not the conversation we're in right now.
Yeah, I think if we look at the actual terms, they're not going to be, they won't start building before it comes back to council. And have we appointed the 2 members? Yes or no? Yes, we have. That's what I thought. Any further discussion of this? I just note it's a perfect example of bureaucracy. We have a committee of 3 and a secretariat of 5. So.
Should work.
Should work. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And so there'll be 8 people at those meetings for the committee. Good. Moving on. 10.4, Kirkland House lease for the Hospice Society. A report from the interim corporate officer. First, a motion to receive. Councillor Shanks, Councillor Seegers. All those in favor? And I'll ask the corporate officer to speak briefly to that before we go to the motion.
Thank you, Worship. Again, fairly straightforward lease, although in the past, staff had signed off on the lease without taking it to council. And I believe and our CAO believes that this kind of disposition of land should really go to council. So this is probably the first time council has seen this particular lease, but it's not controversial at all. It's the Hospice Society using it. It's a good use of the building, and staff agree with it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lutz. Councillor Inkster seconds it. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Business Improvement Area Bylaw 10.5. Motion to receive, Councillor Seegers and Wright. All those in favor? And again, briefly to the corporate officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a report looking for an extension by 1 year of the business improvement area bylaw so that an assessment can be included with this year's tax assessment. There was a difference of opinion between staff and the BIA in terms of the 5-year lease. The staff at the time felt it was 5 assessment years, which would have meant it expired last year, and the BIA were saying, well, perhaps we can look at it as being 5 calendar years and it expires this year sometime, but that still doesn't give us enough time to do an assessment. So we're looking to extend it to the end of the calendar year. They do have some suggestions for change, and this additional year will give us time to work with the BIA on any changes and then bring that forward to council. And of course, then it would have to go to all of the assessed properties for what's commonly called a counter petition to see whether they agree to the revised assessment. So there are changes, but not in this particular one. The assessment will be identical to the last 5 years and go to the same properties as in the last 5 years. So no real change.
Good solution, given the capacity issues and the need to move on this. We have the bylaw recommendation number 2. And then will the bylaw come back to us, or do we read the bylaw tonight?
I would ask that you give it read. We are time sensitive with it in order to get the assessments done for this calendar year. So if we could give it some readings tonight, and then the final adoption on what's that, April 6th,
Okay.
Then we'd be in good shape.
Any discussion of recommendation number 2? And then I'll move directly to page 327 and ask for a motion to read the Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 4961, 2016, a bylaw to amend Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 496, 2011 for the first time. Councillor Seegers and Inkster, all those in favor? And a motion to read it for the second time. Councillors Seegers and Wright. Any discussion at second reading? It's 3 lines long. All those in favor? And a motion to read for the third time the Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 496-1, 2016, which is a bylaw to amend Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 496, 2011. Councillor Inkster and Lutz, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 10.6, Airport Lease Template. And we have a report, again, a very busy interim corporate officer. First, a motion to receive. Councillor Seegers, thank you, and Councillor Lutz, second. All those in favor?
Thank you, Worship. This lease template has been before council and its committees in the past, and there were recommendations made for revisions to it, so I've taken those into consideration. And there were also questions at the time. One of the questions I recall was whether there was an industry standard for the term of the lease, and I've looked, and there really isn't. It's mostly dependent on what the future plans are for the airport, and it might be even future plans for a portion of the airport. So sometimes there are very short-term leases because there are proposals to change to make changes to either the entire airport or portions of it, and other leases can be as long as 30 years. So certainly our 15-year lease is not out of keeping, and that's essentially what the users were asking for. And let's see. And Councillor Seegers had asked me in the interim to consider an additional change to clause 7.5, which is on page 341, and to make it reflective of provisions in, I think it was 4.3, and I don't disagree with her at all, and I can do that. No, 4.3D, yes, on page 336. It already says in in 4.3D that upon termination of the lease, they have to do certain reparations, and so forth. And 7.5 wasn't that specific, and so yes, I can cross-reference them so that it's very clear on termination of a lease that they have to do full cleanup of the site, including environmental type cleanup.
Okay, so rather than just surrender in good condition, reasonable, et cetera, you'll actually reference.
That's correct.
The
Yeah,
clause.
cross-reference
Okay.
4.3D. Yeah.
And just so I'm clear on the option to renew, because I wasn't here when some of that discussion went on, the initial term pro forma will be 15 years. Item 2.3 will give an option to renew a single 5-year term.
That's what I thought council was asking, or
Okay.
committee was
Yeah,
asking for.
a single 5-year term.
Yes.
And then you deleted the option to renew, which closed off any future renewals. And that's the part that I was, given that we had some discussion quite recently on a contract that had an option to renew and how that would play out, I wondered if this was clear that at the end of 20 years, it was a new lease rather than a renewal.
I'll reread it and make sure that that's clear, but that is the
Yeah,
intent.
because originally you had that the will provide for one additional term with all the same provisions except for the renewal. And for some reason, council wanted you to change that. But that seems to have raised the issue we had with the Visitor Information Center. So as long as we know it's 15-year term, 5-year renewal, and then new lease.
Yes. And the overholding clause, which was a concern of the previous CAO and which I had raised with council, I've simply eliminated it completely.
Okay.
That's the clause that would have said that if nothing happens at the end of the lease, then they just keep on going month to month, which has caused us problems in the past. So that overholding clause has been taken out completely.
Any further discussion necessary? Then motion to approve the airport lease template as discussed, as amended. Councillor Seegers, Councillor Shanks. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for that. Item 10.7, I think is an information item, but it's a briefing note from the manager of engineering. First, a motion to receive. Councillor Seegers, Councillor Wright, all those in favor? And I think it is for information. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, just to update the process.
Okay.
We are nearing completion of 50% design now. So the next step is the public open house to discuss with the property owners how they like that our proposal, whether they need to do some other different options. We will give them questionnaires, so they have to they can submit the same day, or they can take it home and read it and submit after 5 days, because the time is very sensitive for this project. If we don't receive the 31st of March, we will proceed our concept design to targeting the 75% design by April 25th, and the application for the grant is April 28th.
Good. And do you happen to know how many residents are in the two areas, AO6 in West Sechelt or AO2 in West Porpoise Bay? Are they large area neighborhoods or small? Or?
It's compared with Area 8. These neighborhoods are larger.
Okay.
I think total is about 100, nearly 150 lots.
150 lots,
Yes.
okay. And one group will meet on March 22nd, the other group on March 23rd, both at the Seaside Center.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Thank you very much for the information. And we'll move.
And all councillors are welcome for this open house.
Councillors are always welcome to go to open houses if they would like to attend on the 22nd or 23rd. Thank you for that. But they can't fill out questionnaires unless they live in the area. Moving on to item 11, reports from councillors. We have Council reports, I'll start on my far right, the community's left. Councillor Seegers. Sorry.
Thank you. Along with other members of council, I attended the public hearing on the Spainy Development Ocean Stories, well attended by the community, and lots of comments, and it seems the community is very much in favor of seeing this move forward, and I think it's much needed in the community. On the 4th of March, with the Housing Committee, I think there are about 5 of us, we were invited to tour Sechelt Sustainable Community development. So I think 5 of us jumped in some vehicles. Thank goodness it wasn't pouring rain that day. It was very windy, but we did a tour of the site up there, so it was nice to see. On Saturday, March 5th, I attended the memorial service for Bob Pollan. It was also very well attended, and when they did the eulogy on Bob, it reminded me of the many hidden talents of the residents of the Sunshine Coast. There's so much knowledge and experience in our community, and it's nice to see people like Bob who come forward and provide that service to us. That evening, I brought greetings from the District of Sechelt to the Knights of Columbus Charter Dinner, and I acknowledged them for their work in our local communities for the past 22 years. March 10th, I attended the Seniors Planning Table Housing Committee meeting, and then on the 11th, and along with a number of the other councillors here, I attended the Library Design Charrette. That was very well attended. I'd like to acknowledge Maple Reinders, Urban Systems and Veolia on the latest award they won for Sechelt's Water Resource Centre. So last week on March 9th, the Canadian Construction Association presented Maple Reinders with the 2015 Environmental Achievement Award. And I quote, for demonstrating how changes in design philosophy and an innovative process design can result in an asset that raises the bar for environmental standards. So I want to congratulate Maple Reinders. And then also on the topic of the Water Resource Centre, I found if you do a Google search under FCM Sechelt, you can find the write-up on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Sustainable Communities Award that we won. And they've also posted the video featuring Mayor Milne, Morgan Banks, one of our wastewater operators, Calvin Cragen, the chief of the Sechelt Nation, and Paul Nash, the project coordinator. It's a great overview and acknowledgement of the facility. And it also includes information provided on the challenges of the project and the lessons learned, which I think is very appropriate. And I'd like to thank Connie Jordison and Paul Nash for coordinating, putting that video together with FCM. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. And Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Your Worship. Had a number of meetings with the SCRD, committee meetings, board meetings, budget meetings. Had a meeting with the fire chiefs for the regional district. It was actually quite a good meeting. The chief of Sechelt, Mr. Higgs, was there, and he coordinated the meeting and facilitated it. And basically what's happening with the other fire departments on the coast is there is no coordination from one fire hall to the next. And so they're coming in and they got various things that they have to do, and the training was one of the big things. And so there's now going to be some coordination, and I suspect that our fire chief, Bill Higgs, will have a strong hand in how that plays out. So that was an interesting meeting. Also attended the library design meeting, and have several meetings for the District of Sechelt. It was actually quite a quiet 2 weeks. Went to the provincial taekwondo tournament in Vancouver on Saturday. Have 2 grandsons. One picked up 2 bronzes, and the other picked up a bronze and a silver. The oldest one, he's 9. So I got to tell you, they do 2 bouts of sparring, and it came out at a tie, 7 points to 7 points, and it was sudden death. The first kick that connected ended it, and he lost. So we went from a gold to a silver all in one kick. What a way to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that report, and I hope your careful not to keep them in line. You'll only have another couple of years before they're telling you where the kicks land. Councillor Inkster.
Thank you. I just always said to Councillor Wright last week that it's lots of kias he was going to hear at that tournament. So, because I took a lot of taekwondo, so good for him to go and cheer on his grandsons. In terms of the fire departments, I guess they need to do more coordination. But I'm glad that they many years ago agreed to mutual aid, the policy that we've all heard of, so that they can work together when there's major fires and conflagrations. They work so well in that area. I wanted to mention a few events. The Spain public hearing was well attended. It was interesting to hear the amount of people in favor, and I guess what they were saying was the people that were here was that Sechelt was missing this piece of living in as people progress through their lives in Sechelt. So that's good to hear, and we're going to hear one and then another proposal for a similar kind of service that's was mentioned earlier is needed. Went to the SIB and the Conservation Association recognition at the Sechelt Band Hall on Saturday. The mayor was also there and spoke, as well as a number of other government people, and the band. The band themselves spoke. It was a good event. I think 3 council members were able to be there. It was full, and there was a lot of clapping for the recognition of what the band's done over a number of years in the conservation area. But in a lot of cases, we need to rely on the First Peoples to make sure that the area that they have always lived in is protected. The library charrette. One of the things that I took from that, because I did say at the meeting that and it was brought up by a number of committee members to me after I said it, was that I was going to be there with an open mind, but that I liked the library as it was. And a few of them came up to me afterwards and said they did too. But what they did say, and because I was looking for rationales for what we were trying to look at and how we move forward with plans and budgeting. And it'll be interesting to see if there's any extension outwards with the library, what that would then create naturally for a second floor, because that would be the sensible approach. Is that what they were saying was the sense of use and crowding in the library. So the amount of people in the library has created problems with how the library is set up now. That's what the issue is. So that when there's lots of people trying to move through particular aisles and or squeeze points in the library, and or trying to move carts, and or older individuals trying to move what they're transporting themselves on, or their book bins or book trolleys, that's where the problems are in the library in terms of room. That's where they're running out of room. So I was looking for that kind of information from that group as to why we would start talking about expansion and expenditure. So that was good to hear, and we'll hear more about that as the council members at that committee come back with more information on that. And I hope council, just in finishing here, received the health report that I received. I think it was better that I forwarded that, I guess a bit lazy on my part, but that I forwarded that document to council than me try to write up something that was as representative as that report was and handed out to council, as I mentioned last council meeting. So I hope they read that. It's very important information, anecdotally and statistically, as to why it's important for local government to keep the health of their community in mind as we develop policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And Councillor Shanks.
Yes, I won't go over the other meetings that a fair number of us attended. I will pass comment that I attended the SDBA workshop at Mission Point House on Sunday, March the 6th, and spent about 3.5–4 hours there. And they were looking at where they're moving to over the next half dozen years or so. I also attended the Davis Bay Association meeting as well as their AGM, and I believe they have some new executive members there. Also attended the library charrette at the Seaside Center. A lot of good input there. Today I had the good fortune to be at the Roberts Creek Golf Course, and lo and behold, sitting just down the way was our former CIG, Ron Buckhorn. So I went across and conveyed my best wishes to him and asked him what he was doing. And he made the comment that he was very pleased with the presentation of the video back east where we won the award, and the comments that our mayor had to make with respect to that. I said, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And the latest thing is the Ferry Advisory Committee has been trying to organize a meeting with the local governments, and we understand that that meeting will take place on Monday, March the 21st at 1:30 up at the regional district. That's my report.
Thank you very much for that report. And Councillor Lutz, your report.
Thank you. I won't mention all the other meetings either, but a couple of standouts that I did attend was a presentation with the Governor General of Canada done by the community foundation groups in the Sea to Sky area. They had a panel, fairly young participants, talking about healthy and inclusive communities. It was very well presented and really interesting discussions. I did get the opportunity to shake his hand and invite him to Sechelt. He didn't sound like he was coming tomorrow, but said he thought it was a beautiful part of the country. I also got to MC the International Women's Day dinner that was put on at the Roberts Creek Hall by the Sunshine Coast Labour Council. And our key speaker was Shelley McDade from the credit union. She did a wonderful presentation to us. The food was great, the attendance was really good, and the entertainment was fun. I also attended the library charrette. Those are always interesting events. Really pleased to say that Mayor Milne has returned and taken the pressure off. It's given me the chance to watch our local Sunshine Coast midget, I think it's tier 3, hockey team in the provincial that's happening in Gibsons. I've watched 3 of their games on Coast Cable. Commentators are lots of fun, but the camera work has just amazed me because those kids are moving really fast. And our Blues team last night beat Cranbrook 9-1, and yet it was quite the game to watch. And they're playing again tonight, so I hope they're doing well. And I know from different businesses I've spoken to, it has had an impact here in Sechelt, as I'm sure it has in Gibsons. There's 10 teams visiting and our own local team. So it's, I think it's been a good experience for the kids that have come and the parents. And I think we've shown ourselves well. So that's my report.
And thank you very much, Councillor Lutz and Councillor Mueller.
Thank you, Worship. Like many of the other councillors here, this last couple of weeks was a little bit more quiet than usual. There were a few meetings of note, but I took the time to get out and have probably one of my first getaways since I've been elected. I took 3 days and I went to Whistler, which was really quite welcome relief. I was very lucky to get there and managed to have powder snow the entire weekend. And I also had a top-notch guide who was our former two-term former Mayor Whistler, Ken Melamed, showed me around the mountain, skied me absolutely to my limit, and so that was good to get that break. The most important event, I think, of note in the past 2 weeks for me was the SSCA event where they dedicated the John Hyde Smith Award to the Sechelt elders. It was a well-deserved honor to be at that event and to hear George Smith go through the list of achievements of the Sechelt Nation along with the Sechelt elders. Really reads like a dream list in terms of ecological conservation. And they didn't do everything, but they did almost everything in the last 20 years. And it's really what really is impressive to look at that. I also had to remark on the fact that I've been to now 5 to 6 different events as an elected official, where I myself was honored by the Sechelt Nation, and it was one of the first times that we've actually been able to, as a community, give something back. And so I think that was really quite a historic event for anyone who was there. So certainly of note. That's my report.
And thank you very much for that report. I would like to start by thanking all of Council for their work, but in particular Deputy Mayor Alice Lutz for her work over the last while I was enjoying a chance to go to New Zealand in summertime in the Southern Hemisphere. And it was a wonderful trip. There's a lot of nice places in the world, and a whole bunch of them are in New Zealand. I didn't bring pictures, but I was going to. One set of pictures that I did take was in Wellington at what they call the government gardens. And I took some still photos and a video of 2 perfect and large and beautiful lawn bowling courts. There must have been 10 to 12 lanes across, both of them. And there was 2 side by side with and a clubhouse that was probably as big as the library. So it was a pretty but very English, 1 story and out. But it was pretty good, and they were full. I mean, there was probably 65 people out in those 2 courts enjoying themselves, and it was raining, so they were all in white raincoats because you want to wear white. So, anyways, I do have those, and I'll forward them to those that are most interested in lawn bowling. And I couldn't help but remark that it was quite an addition to the capital city of New Zealand, and it'd probably be an addition to Sechelt if we could get our act together. When I did return, I was able to attend the Sunshine Coast Conservation Association Award to the Sechelts, and I agree that it was a good opportunity to recognize the work that they've done over many years and build relationship with them. That's my report. 11.2 SCRD Council. Oh, I wanted to mention. I also met with the community forest briefly. The chair and a couple of members of the board, and they're getting ready for their AGM. And I do have some meetings next week with the development team for SSC properties. I actually think in some cities the mayor's schedule is a matter of public record, and I think it's posted on the websites, and I'd be happy if we did that as well, just so anything I'm doing on, which is part of the official business, may as well be fully open to the public for them to see what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Moving on, 11.2, the SCRD board report, and there was a written report provided. Any questions of our director? Okay, then item 12. Yes, Councillor Inkster.
Just an update, if possible, from our representative of the regional district on, and I'll be asking this every month or 2, on the renaming of Wormy Lake.
I think that'll be up to us, and I understand we have to wait until 1 year after the death of the person we want to dedicate it to. So we have some time to do the submissions.
Up to the District of Sechelt or the Regional District? Oh, hadn't heard that. Oh, okay.
So we'll put it on the schedule for 1 year
Okay.
anniversary, and then you can ask, and then we can make a submission at that point.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item 12 is information for release. We have first 12.1, the Sunshine Coast RCMP monthly statistics. A motion to receive. Councillor Seegers, Councillor Shanks, all those in favor. Any questions or comments on those? It's always better when the RCMP come quarterly, and then we can actually talk about the ones that are there. And moving on then to item 12.2, which is council correspondence. Motion to receive correspondence items 1 to 8. Councillor Seegers, Councillor Lutz, all those in favor. Any items you'd like to discuss? We have one letter from UBCM regarding our membership and fees. letter from the Sechelt and District Chamber of Commerce President Kim Darwin regarding their annual general meeting, and I hope councillors are able to attend that. Email from Province Minister Oakes and Fassbender regarding wine and grocery stores. Letter regarding Community in Bloom on Canada's 150th anniversary. Another letter from the Provincial Minister Fassbender regarding climate leadership. Local Government Division on Sport Culture Development regarding climate leadership plan sessions. An email from the Ministry of Jobs and Tourism regarding survey invitation, which I hope somebody has a chance to do for 10 minutes. And an area response planning initiative from the Regional Director of Transport Canada. Councillor Seegers.
I think I was up.
Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Worship.
Yeah, your light's there.
I just wanted to discuss briefly item number 8. This is, I think, in direct response to our oil spill resolution. It's specifically about oil spills, and it's interesting to see these come back after we send out our communication, and it works its way through and then comes back. This is actually something that looks to be quite practical and workable. And just to note, they've only planned a handful of these, and Sechelt has been chosen as a site for one of these. So I think we should have a really active role in it. The cities that were chosen were Richmond, Vancouver, Victoria, Nanaimo, and Sechelt. So we should certainly get on that one in particular. There's also other ones, but I see these come back sometimes as invitations to be a part of a survey. This one's a lot more active. This is a planning session, and I think we should certainly be there.
I think we better attend, and we should get a lot of our community to attend as well. So we have between now and June 22nd to put a good brief together and be prepared and make sure that the interested members of the community are aware as well. So we can put that in our community memo, but we can also just make sure we don't let it drop off the side of the desk. And Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. I was going to reference the same thing. The bottom of the page, so it'd be 394, underneath where it's got the table of when these events are happening, it actually indicates a document that is being made available ahead of time. And I'd like to request that we have a link on our website to that document so that people in the community, let's let them know this is coming here and make the materials available to them so that they can come prepared as well.
Yes, good idea. And Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, just looking through this again, and it's good to see that they've recognized that we would like to be involved. I just wanted to know where this particular event, just to clarify, would take place in Sechelt. We do have, we're the land between two waters. So which waters will they be doing this in? We do know from our own staff and the regional district, Mr. Elsner, that there was an identified problem in the inlet last year with oil from derelict or otherwise vessels. So, and that's an ongoing problem that's causing problems in our inlet. So very separate from the emails we've received recently about concerns about the inlet. This is an ongoing, continuous problem over the last number of years. So I'm hoping that they know the geography well enough, and through consultation that they have a plan to either do the inlet and or the open side and the inlet.
Well, the point of attending would be to make sure that they are aware that we can engage in that.
Okay.
And Councillor Seegers.
Thank you. One of the things that is recommended in here that if people are wanting to attend, they actually respond by email. So I don't believe a site has been picked yet, and it probably will be determined by how many people respond and indicate they're going to come. So that's on page 395, the top.
Yeah, we should canvass council members to see how many would actually be able to attend on the 22nd, and if 3 or 4 of us are, make sure that we're formally connected. And
Ooh, look at that email. Looks like
I agree with Councillor Mueller that this is probably, the fact that we're included in this, not the whole project, but the fact that we're included is a direct response to the work that Councillor Mueller did at AVICC, which is almost a year ago, because we're getting ready to go to Nanaimo in April. Councillor Lutz.
Yeah, Wednesday, the 22nd, our planning meeting.
Okay. Well, not everyone's on planning, so we can see. Any other discussion of the correspondence? Hearing none, I'll move on to item 14, which is a motion to adjourn. Councillor Seegers and Councillor Mueller, all those in favor? That's passed without objection. It's not even 10 after 8. Thank you. Public question and answer, Pam.